Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
I'm Robert McBride, and this is Everyday People, a program in which we investigate the lives of people making a difference in our community.
One and go. Great. Hi, this is Robert McBride with Everyday People. It's been a little time since we've actually had a show going, and thanks to our COVID, creating the new normal for all of us. And actually picking up from last spring with the Rockingham Arts and Museum annual art raffle, which local artists donate work to. And we've got that now rescheduled and up online, and you can buy tickets till November 1st, and we'll talk a lot more about that. And with us today, we have some of the artists that have been kind enough to donate work to the raffle to help support RAMP's mission, which is to integrate artists and the arts into the cultural and economic long-term sustainability of our community, which I think it's been doing. And I think COVID has brought out that we're really going to need to rely on artists and creatives to help us get out of this whole big mess. So today, so far, we have Evie Lovett. Evie's there, and Evie and I have worked on some projects together and tried some strategizing and has donated a beautiful painting to the piece. And we've got Claire Adams, and Claire is in her studio out in Cambridgeport and does printmaking and glass making and a variety of things. And we've got Charles Norris Brown, who's one of my partners in crime and getting stuff out about the creatives and the Creative Vermont Network newsletter, and lives in the Exner block in downtown Bellows Falls, devoted to the arts. So thank you for making some time to come on the show today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great. Everyone can hear, everyone can talk. Yeah, great, fantastic. So actually I'm going to start in with Claire a little bit and just tell us a little bit about, the work you do and how are you reacting to what's happened with COVID and continuing to create or being in touch with other artists and stuff. And once again, thank you for contributing to RAMP's art raffle. We'll be showing the pieces of work that all these artists donated. So Claire.
Hi. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, I would say. The isolation has been good for my artwork. It's really allowed me to concentrate and kind of really dig deep to figure out what I really want to be doing with my time. So I'm a painter and a printmaker, but lately I've been painting on glass, which is a very involved technique, ancient technique of stained glass painting. So I've had lots of time to explore that, which has been great.
And all of that work you're able to do out of your studio, that hasn't been interrupted?
In my studio, I have to fire the glass in a kiln because the enamels need to fire at 1200 degrees to stay affixed to the glass. So I'm pulling a lot of my techniques from my printmaking experience. So it translates pretty well onto the glass. So that's been exciting. The piece I donated to RAMP is a relief print, but it's related to the work I'm doing in glass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And Evie, tell us a little bit about yourself, and what you're up to these days.
Wow. Well, I often wear a number of hats, so it's actually been incredibly nice to just have some of those hats. So I always feel a little fractured, so I'm not doing the teaching work that I have been doing in the past as a teaching artist and as a teacher of photography. I've been working on a public art project in Brattleboro with two wonderful partners, Elizabeth Billings and Andy Wasserman. And then what I do because I have to, because it feeds me. I can't say it's a money maker, but I do encaustic painting at and that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And as Claire said, she's working with a how many year old process, you said?
Oh, centuries.
Yeah, so encaustic is also, it's a couple millennia old.
Yeah.
You can see the Egyptian Roman tomb paintings that are done in encaustic, which is wax and pigment combined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pretty amazing. Absolutely. Good stuff. Great. And Charles, want to introduce yourself?
Charles Norris Brown, live in the Exeter block, like Robert said. And what I'm doing now, during COVID, I'm being paid as an intern at Ramp, not by Ramp per se, but by somebody else to be at home and isolate. But that's given me time to work on stuff at home. And what I've been doing, I've written and illustrated a children's book called Did Tiger Take the Rain? It was published in 2016 or 2017? 2016. That book is now in India, being published by Pratham Books. It is being distributed for free to poor children in India in 5 different languages right now. And it's kind of at the top of its career, that book, because right now Pratham Books is really making an effort to do home teaching with children. So that's helped a lot. I don't know how much my particular book has done, but I think it is out there for sure. Certainly all the other books of Pratham has been promoting for the children in India and Asia and Africa. So I'm quite proud of that book. It's also put me in contact with a school in Nepal where I am every Monday having a class with children and my background is anthropology, so I'm a PhD in anthropology. So I'm doing anthropology and art together with these children. So we're looking at like encaustic in Egypt and different places like that, and among other things. And we're looking at the society and the art and what can be produced in art by artists in different eras and such things. That is also becoming a play. It was supposed to be a play here in Vermont with the Main Street Arts, but that's kind of on hold. Now it's becoming a play in Nepal. So my book's being turned into a play, in addition to all these other things. So this has a life of its own. It's an open source book, and anything open source goes off, it just disappears out of your hands.
Right.
Which is great. And the other things I'm working on, a graphic novel here in the Exeter block, has to do with Vermont and a girl who loses her cell phone and discovers the forest. But after COVID, I've kind of reoriented that plot to include what happens to nature when we enforce our own rules on it. Things like viruses and the spread of viruses. So I'm kind of looking at that as in a different way. That includes creating what I call feral children. So children who are all of a sudden becoming such a part of nature that this hopefully change their whole way of thinking about nature. Hopefully.
Okay.
And the other thing I'm doing is some plein air.
Okay, Charles, I'm going to cut you off pretty soon because we want to get a little interaction going, but you have one more thing to wrap up?
Yeah, I do. My artwork in the Raffle is a plein air, and I'm doing a lot of plein air right now, painting outside. So.
Great. Fantastic. So Chris, can you hear us and everything? We can't hear you. Chris, are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, man.
Okay, I couldn't hear you guys. Sorry about that.
Okay. So you want to just introduce yourself and what setting are you in right now?
I just have Wi-Fi at the studio, so I'm Chris Sherwin. This is the Sherwin Art Glass Studio at 33 Bridge Street in Bellows Falls. And as of this morning, I finally have Wi-Fi, so I can. I'm sitting in my studio. So my furnace is over back here, and I'm sitting in the gallery area. So yeah, I've been here for 15 years at 33 Bridge Street, making blown and sculptural glass. And so.
Yeah, I'm sort of intrigued a little bit with you guys interacting about, how has COVID affected your creative making? Whether it's helped it bloom more, or whether it's inhibited it, or your interaction with other artists, and things has radically changed. And you guys can just kind of jump in. But Chris, if you want to start with that, since you were the last one we were talking to.
Okay, I would say fairly dramatically / drastically affected sales. All the shows, a lot of the galleries initially closed. Most have reopened, but I've lost some permanently. They couldn't make their financial needs, and they've permanently closed. So that was definitely offsetting. Theoretically, it would leave more time for creativity with fewer orders to be making, but I seem to have stayed busy throughout. So I haven't had the time to play that I thought I might. I think what hopefully some of the other fellow artists will speak to is that it has kind of invigorated us or inspired us to help one another a little bit more. So we've started doing some delving into different social media and online sales and how we might help market ourselves and each other. So I think COVID has actually brought us closer together, even though we're not physically in the same space. We've done a lot of these online Zoom calls every other week or so, and really have started a focus group on how we can help each other and do some of that networking. So that's been a great positive, I think, out of this.
Claire, is there?
I would say early on in the pandemic, when we all had lots of time, was a real boon for me. I just had endless hours in the studio with nothing else to do. Plus we had the pandemic unemployment insurance, which was a great help to allow me to work nonstop, really. Lately, I've had to get a job outside the studio to support my kids in college, so it's been harder to maintain that kind of focus. So it's been a mixed blessing, I would say. It's hard for everybody this time. So, it helps to have other artists to bounce ideas off of and keep your spirits up when you get down. But all in all, it's been okay. I've been working through it.
And Evie, what about a support system for you? Or you mentioned how, you were teaching artists a lot and different things have happened, but, have you started relying more on the social media things? It seems like the COVID in all fields and sectors of economy have kind of sped up that direction we were heading in anyway, but economically and everything to get the world out. And in certain ways, kind of positive. There's a larger audience you start to reach for. But within your art making, do you want to share something with us about any of that?
It's interesting. I don't think I've actually been particularly adept at it, because I think in this time, particularly with the sort of the reckoning, the state of reckoning that our country is in terms of social and racial injustice, it sort of has felt like a weird time to be like, Anne, buy my painting. So I have not been so adept at utilizing that time. What I will say is that one project that I was doing with two partners was working with community members in Brattleboro to make huge cyanotype scarves or fields of silk, 25 feet long. And we were doing those with school groups and community groups. And the last one we did was March 4th or 5th, and we had 20 more scheduled. And it became clear that we couldn't do that kind of mass community art making together during this time. But when we thought, okay, well, do we want to go online? What do we want to do? We actually were able to redesign these cyanotype making workshops in a physically distanced way, because I do think that actually we really need to be negotiating or with other people in a way beyond Zoom, particularly kids, I think. So that's been a real success.
That's great. And Charles, you were already mentioning how I mean, you might have naturally developed this relationship with these students in India and where your book was heading anywhere. But do you think it opened up more or sped things up more, or what are some of the positives or negatives of just dealing with the reality of the present and COVIDs?
Negatives are being an older male has been very scary, and it still is. But it also has made me look at my life in a different way too, focus more, and which has also been with the books, with what you just mentioned, India and such things. I've been able to go back and say, hey, this looks pretty good, this kind of thing. And like both Claire and Chris, everybody has mentioned the fact that it's so important to have this chance to talk with other artists. I've been on some of the calls with Chris and Claire about the social media and picked up some of their hints and some of their ideas. So it's all good in a way. That side of it is actually good. It's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, to me, I think a lot about the COVID thing is it just, since everyone was going through, we were all looking through a filter of sorts. Not that all of us were in the same boat, but in the same way, but there was this filter that was globally happening that everyone suddenly froze and, oh my goodness. But, if you took COVID away, life is always fragile. Life is, you never know what's going to happen. And hopefully that gave us more of an appreciation in a bizarre way for the serendipity of life, the fragility of it. So, maybe we try to be a little bit more considerate of each other and respectful and reach out in a bigger way. And I've also thought about it a lot in an immigration kind of way, the way that, Vermont has a brand, and Vermont's been really well at trying to handle the COVID, and people really want to come to Vermont. They want to own a piece of Vermont. They want to come to it. And I it's almost like immigration. How do we deal with the immigration and blend people in and bring in their ideas and not, and this isn't anything to, push off the people that already live here and that, but it's an interesting situation. And practically, to break it down, I mean, recently the town of Rockingham and Bellows Falls Village Trustees needed to hire a new town manager. And we've had kind of a history of a revolving door of town managers. And, we thought, oh my God, they're going to apply now. And who's going to apply for it? Well, I think they got like 26 applications of people across the country. And I'm wondering how much of that was COVID motivated, that we'd like to move to a smaller rural community and work with that, where before it might not have been as a competitive kind of place to come. So there's a lot of interesting angles to think about this. And in the reverse, with you guys doing that, more of the social media discussions, Claire and Charles and people are having regularly and marketing your work, how maybe it just pushed you a little faster to do that. You were probably heading in that direction anyway, but it kind of opened up, and then the possibility that someone could bid on a piece, buy a piece from Seattle, Washington, because it was through social media. And I'm finding that a little bit with this art raffle, since we're sending it out through social media. Suddenly someone in Southern California is buying a ticket to my raffle that I never knew, and they weren't one of my contact sponsor people. So we got to live in the present, and we got to be excited about stuff, even though there's a tremendous amount of tragedy and fear and stuff.
Yeah.
Want to jump in on that? Come on, philosophize, artists. Let's go. Was I supposed to get you all espressos this afternoon? Let's go. You're artists. You're creative. I've got an expectation.
No? Careful not to walk on each other.
Yeah. But are you finding you're getting sales from other places, Chris? Or
yeah, for sure. And I'm like you had kind of alluded to, fortunately or unfortunately, in this business, there's been more of a direction in online sales, whether it's the younger generation wanting to just point and click and buy, or Amazon or whatever. It's been trending in that direction. Although I think we're still in a really nice place in the country, New England specifically, where people appreciate handmade and locally made arts and crafts. And that was one of the main reasons to move home, was this is a pretty good place to be doing what we're doing. And so I still do have walk-in traffic now that I'm back open, but there was a direction on the online sales, and I have been, it's not only all over the country, but it opens it up all over the world. Especially one aspect of what I do is paperweights, and there are paperweight collectors globally in every country of the world, pretty much. So I am seeing some of that visitations from people that, you know, either hadn't been customers for a while or are contacting me that hadn't before. So that's been interesting to see and follow. And it has been just more of a push to basically get my shit together. You know, I procrastinate. And now there's like, well, if you want sales, you know, you really need to start doing some of this stuff, whether it's revisit your website and see if it needs either some TLC or a complete redo, or, you know, posting to social media, which I still don't enjoy, but I'm trying to be better about. And just having more of an all-encompassing approach to staying in business, I guess.
Yeah, I just got a high sign from Colin that we just have a couple of minutes left. So I don't know if any of you want to just throw in any kind of, you know, 30-second comment about stuff. I want to, again, thank you, these artists, the Evie and Claire and Charles and Chris, for, you know, supporting RAMP and its mission, and by donating work to the art raffle, which you can see on the RAMP website at www.ramp-vt.org. And there's gonna be a little video they're gonna show at the end of this thing. But parting remarks from Claire?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Robert and Ramp for all the good work you do around the Bellows Falls area and locally, because it's really been great to have that kind of support and introduction to other artists, and just feel like that there's a real community of artists around here. Just makes it feel more vibrant and more livable.
No, there is a great. Charles, anything you want to say?
I couldn't add to that any more than what Claire and Chris are saying. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Ram.
Thank you, artists, for being created. You know, it doesn't have to be a thank you to Ram, but any parting remark about anything.
You started all this, Robert. That was another part of moving home, was 20-something years ago when you started Ramp. And we would come home and like, look at Bellows Falls, and it's really become a community that supports artists, which I think was part of your and Ramp's vision, and it really is that. So thank you very much, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished, and please support Ramp. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Chris. So anyway, everybody, I'm sorry we can't meet in person, though, you know, my garden still looks pretty good, believe it or not. And love to have you come up. I'll be here in the winter. And thanks again. And everyone, just check out these people's work more online. And you know, Bellows Falls is just really a really amazing community. And I just am glad that artists feel comfortable being here, along with all the residents that have been here for years and just kind of sharing things. So thanks for being you guys. And we'll see you on another episode of Everyday People, I hope.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourselves. Be creative and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
The Rockingham Arts and Museum Project's 13th semi-annual art raffle is in full swing, with tickets available until November 1st. Completely online and extremely easy, visit ramp-vt.org for more information. Now please enjoy the following showing of the work available to be raffled off this year. The Rockingham Arts and Museum Project, or RAMP, located in Bellows Falls, was founded in 1995. At the time, the community was not known as one that valued the arts. Over the years, RAMP has developed relationships and credibility within the community, as well as with statewide organizations, including the Vermont Arts Council, Preservation Trust of Vermont, Housing Vermont, Vermont Council on Rural Development, the Wyndham Regional Planning Commission, the Vermont Crafts Council, as well as the Vermont Downtown Program. As these relations developed, RAMP's mission has evolved, integrating artists and the arts in the long-term sustainability of the community by creating effective partnerships that support a creative economy and developing programs that encourage cultural and physical accessibility. RAMP has collaborated in creating public art projects, such as a town-wide residency with the Bread and Puppet Theater, as well as murals that greet people to downtown Bellows Falls, the Exner Block, which provides 10 affordable live/workplaces and 6 retail spaces with preference given to artists, as well as organizing quarterly Artist Town meetings, hosting Everyday People, and a cable access show with local creatives who share their stories of making a difference in the community, and sitting on a variety of boards of directors to keep the arts at the table. As RAMP grows, so does the positive attention for the Bellows Falls community, as a community on the move, with arts as the catalyst. RAMP is an arts advocacy organization, and as such, provides a model for rural communities, demonstrating the importance of recognizing creatives and integrating the arts into the sensibility of the community. These efforts attract creative people and businesses to the community who in turn positively affect the community's long-term cultural and economic health. Visit ramp-vt.org to view the work, purchase tickets, and select your desired pieces. Thank you to all of RAMP supporters everywhere.